so messy behind me.
That's all right.
That's how I live.
Yeah. Just drop my phone. Ugh. Okay.
Hello, everyone. If you're here, say hi. We'll wait for some people to join in.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk about this one and hopefully not cry during the live show.
Tell me about it. Okay, let me make sure it's going live. I refresh my app. Hang on. I guess we'll chat about are you currently reading anything right now?
Actually, yes, I am. I was like, am I? Yeah, I'm halfway through Binding 13.
Okay, if you don't like it, totally fine. Just like go easy on me, okay?
No, I'm liking it so far. I'm just like, yeah, I just am finishing because the audiobook's like in the 2 parts, so I'm assuming that's halfway through. Like I just finished part 1, which
Okay.
they're on Audible, like just to grab, which was interesting.
Yeah, I don't think Saving and Redeeming 6 is, but Binding and Keeping 13 parts 1 and 2 are both on there.
Yeah. So far I'm invested. Yeah. There's a lot going on.
Hello.
But I've been reading it kind of slowly for like the last week and a half or so.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, when I have time to get to it.
It's a chunker of a book, so it takes
Yeah.
time. And the accents, sometimes you can't like speed it up too fast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just slow it down a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
So far I like it though.
Cool. Hello.
What are you reading?
I'm reading Throne of Secrets by Carrie Maniscalco.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're not liking it?
It's just boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the first in a new series from her?
That's the second one. So I read the first one.
Oh, Throne of the Fallen, right?
Yeah, I gave it 4 stars.
Okay.
And I liked that one. It was really interesting, but this one's like different.
Mm.
I don't know, and it's reading a little like the characters are immature, like more YA age.
Oh, yeah.
It's not my favorite. So
I feel like it's always hard when like fantasy authors who have done YA like try to do adult. Like it just kind of reads young still.
Well, that's why I didn't like Kingdom of the Wicked. She like had them do all of these like adult things, but the way they're talking is very like immature. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, let us know in the comments what you're currently reading. So we'll pop. This shows 7 people here. So and my YouTube says that we're 5, so that's good.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about today, though, we're going to talk about Last Christmas in Paris. Oh, you have a physical copy. I was going to get one.
Yeah.
Oh. All the missing pieces.
I might do that one next too.
Yeah, we're here to talk about, I almost said all the missing pieces. Not all the missing pieces. Last Christmas in Paris. So I'm very excited. Oh, yeah, Lexi. She started that last night on my reading sprints for page.
Oh, okay.
How My Neighbor Stole Christmas. Ooh, some good ones.
Christmas ones.
Yeah. Okay, so Last Christmas in Paris was a epistolary. It was all epistolary, which I wasn't expecting. Like, because I didn't have the physical book. I was like, I didn't expect it to be all, except the 1968 parts where we get like one of the characters,
like his present day. Yeah.
And then, did you listen to audio or did you read it physically?
I did the audio and I had my physical because I wanted to see how some of the parts like that they like redacted or whatever were told.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it was really interesting. So I listened to the whole thing in audio within like 2 days, which is really, really quick for me. But I think the narrators did such a good job, like separating the letters, because I was worried that I wouldn't be able to like separate them if I would listen. Oh, so good. Anyway, okay. So what did we rate it? We'll go ahead and give our ratings in the comments. If you read it, let me know. Let us know. Okay. So what did you rate it, Christy?
I gave it 5 stars.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
I saw your rating.
Yeah.
Put it on your little graphic and I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. And it might be like one of my favorites of the year. Like I loved it that much. And it had such like at the beginning, I was telling you, like, hopefully I don't cry during the live show because I cried multiple times reading it. I cried days after talking about it to my husband, started crying again in the car. Like I've cried a
Oh
lot with
my
this
gosh.
book, so hopefully I can hold it together.
Okay, so we have a
But it's
4
so good.
star, 4.5, a 5. Mary Jane Wells is so good. When I heard
Yes,
that she was a narrator, I was like, "Oh shit,
same,
this is a real book."
same. Because I
Like,
liked that there was, like, multicast of narrators for all the different people reading the letters, and, like, I
yeah,
didn't know any of the other narrators, but when they said her, I was like, "Okay, yes."
yeah. I don't know if some of, like, the male or female narrators did, like, different voices, because like,
Yeah,
you had,
true.
like, the printing house people, like,
Yeah.
and they sounded different, which was nice, but I wasn't sure if it was I don't care if it was a different narrator, but, like, they had different voices.
Right,
It was easy to
right.
distinguish, like,
Mhm,
whew, another 5 star. Okay, so I think the consensus is that everyone loved it.
mhm. Which is
Uh,
good.
we loved it too. I will say I was, like, listening to the audiobook, and it got towards the end, and I was just like I know I'm, like, jumping right in, but I literally was like, I stopped everything, and I was sitting here with my headphones like this. I was, like, sitting here, and I was like, I had tears in my eyes, and Brandon was like, "Babe, babe," like, he was trying to get my attention, and I stopped it, and I was like, "What do you want?" Like, I was having a moment. I was like, "If I keep reading this, I'm gonna sob." So, like, he stopped me
Mhm.
before, like, it really set
Yeah,
in for me, but
yeah. You're
it
like,
was
"I'm going through it over here. You're gonna have to wait."
oh, man, like, I was in my own little world with my headphones. Like, when I put those
Right.
headphones in, I'm like, "Oh, the cover is
Mhm,
so pretty. I love it."
mhm.
Okay, so I don't even know where to start with this one.
Yeah. Well, I liked that it was World War One. Like, I wanna read more World War One centered stories, and I feel like it wasn't like, obviously, we get some of their letters from what's happening in the war and things like that, but it wasn't, like, centered in just kind of that, like, the battles and all that type of things happening. So I liked this kind of, like, glimpse that we see of it, and, like, just the time frame I feel like was really good and, like, interesting because like, how the beginning, like, they're British soldiers, obviously, and they didn't realize, like, they're like, "Oh, we'll be back for Christmas, like, no big deal. This is gonna take, like, a couple weeks," and then it's, like, years later, you know?
So I think going forward, we will be talking spoilers. I just want to
Yes, yes.
let everyone know, like, we will be talking spoilers. Oh man, that's
Mm,
rough. I couldn't. If I was
mm,
like getting my nails done, I'd have been a mess. I'm so sorry. Um, I do like it that it was World War One, and I think during the 1968 time, he mentions because obviously we know who he is. He mentions that he went through World War II too, and I was like, I wonder what that time was for them, considering everything that they went through during World War
mhm.
One. But I think it's interesting that a lot of people who went through World War One went through World War II in some type of way. Like if you were young enough
Right.
to be drafted or enlist or anything like that. So I don't know if there's any historical fiction books that span both. I would love to see like just a perspective
Right.
of that. But I liked it was I felt like World War One brought like a more like old timey feel to
Mhm.
the book with the letters as well. Like obviously people sent letters in World War II as well. But I just like I liked that part of it, how it was like, oh, I could just see her writing in her house and how like women
Yeah.
aren't supposed to do too much and they're not supposed to go out and do stuff. And like even those 4 years, the progression of like what women did do versus what they did and started doing in those 4 years and how it like
Right.
kind of like sped up that time. Like feel like it was
Mhm.
10, 15 years in those 4 years because women had to like work certain things and do certain jobs. Like she was a postmaster, her friend went to be a nurse, she went to
Mhm.
be a writer at the publishing like newspaper thing. I just thought
Yeah.
it was really, really cool.
Mhm.
Um
Mm.
oh yes. Yes.
Yes. Mhm.
I think that's
Yeah.
also what got me too is like with any letters, like obviously I've read romances where it's epistolary or like most of the time I feel like you can get very raw in a letter rather
Mhm.
than like in a text that you can just like take it away really quickly, you know what I mean? Or like on a phone call. But I don't know, it just the letters part of it where he was like open about what he was going through and he was like, things are not good. Like he was like, I'm
Yeah.
not okay. Like there was one part where he was like, I'm just not okay. I'm not okay. And he had to go to that hospital. I was losing my
I
shit. I was
know.
like, what is
I
happening?
know. Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, and it's interesting, or it was like funny how it, not funny, but like it was fun to show the differences between her writing to him, her brother's best friend, versus writing to her brother, where his were like short, like, hey, what's going, like totally like brother sister type of dynamics, like barely writes her a note, but then for the other guy, like he just like pours out his heart and soul to her. And like later on in the story, when he thinks she's, you know, engaged to somebody else, like he gets so heartbroken and like even puts in the letter, like, I literally spent how many years and how many letters, like, giving you everything of me, like, oh,
Listen,
yeah.
so I go into historical fiction. If there's a romance, fantastic, right? I love
Mhm.
it. It's great. It's like an addition. But I never guarantee an HEA, okay? Like I never expect it. So when I'm sitting there when I had that moment, I was like, things are going downhill very quickly for me. I was like, I like the culmination of everything between him and her and what's happening and like what he's going through. I can only mentally picture how this is just like that last thing that pushes him over the edge. And I was
You
like, I don't even
know.
know if they're gonna be together. What if he dies? Like it was a whole list of things, and I was having a very hard moment, very hard moment.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh man. Yeah. Wait, what's
Which mother?
his his mother wasn't around. Or do you mean the father?
No.
Wait, whose mother?
I know, that's what I'm wondering.
Also, the father dying in the middle of all that, and I was like, he's never
Yeah.
gonna be able to see his dad, and his dad, like, writes him a final letter, like, or he, like, his person
Mhm.
dictates it for him.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, the closure, like, you're not there, but, like."
You get a little something, yeah, I know. And her brother?
It was so hard because like, I kind of figured something was gonna happen because his letters got shorter and shorter, and I was like, "Okay," I kind of felt
Yeah.
like the authors, like, kinda give us the like, giving us something
Right.
without, like, really saying what it is. I mean, like, I was very sad, but I think his letters were so, like, not personable, like, not too much.
Yeah.
I felt
Yeah.
attached because of her,
Mhm.
but I didn't feel like I mean, I was very
Yeah.
sad. And the whole, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, they have a daughter, and she was
Yeah.
is she"
I was more sad for her sake, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
her mother died during childbirth too, and I was like,
Yep.
"Couldn't
As
have
soon
been
as the
worse."
grandma of her, like, was writing to the main character and she's like, "I'm the mother of," and I was like, "Oh, no." Like, everything with his family.
Right, the foreshadowing. I also
Mhm.
liked, how she had at first, I didn't get the best friends, and I was like, "What the hell is this best friend doing?" Like, is this
Oh,
best
yeah.
friend gonna start writing to her brother? Like, are they gonna have a thing? Because I was trying to like piece who and who, like what's happening. But I actually liked that she was like part of the letters because I feel like it gave her Evie like an outlet to tell her friend,
Mhm.
hey, this is going on. Like, oh my God, I don't know
Yeah.
how to tell this boy I love him type of a thing. But like
Right.
letter
Yeah.
wise. Evie's mom. Okay.
Did they write to her? Because she was living with them for a bit of the book, right?
Evie was,
Yeah.
but I don't.
Oh, I know at the end she did write to tell her mom about the son, or to about Will's, like, daughter being a
Yeah.
thing. Maybe that part?
Yeah. Oh, oh, you wanted to I think she meant, like, she wanted to see that if there was.
Yeah, maybe after that, yeah.
I feel like the way that her mom Evie's mom okay, yeah, okay, cool.
Okay, yeah.
I kinda expect that to, like so she's been closed off because after Will died, obviously, like, she was like, "I don't wanna do anything, like, I don't wanna talk about Will," anything like that, so, like, Evie does her own, like, investigation and stuff like that, and I think this is, like, it's assumed to me, like, I assumed this,
Mhm.
that, like, Evie's mom will have a relationship with that daughter at some point, um, to, like, heal that loss of Will, if that makes sense, and I think it kinda, like,
Yeah.
left it open-ended for that, so that's why I assumed. But it would've been nice to see a letter just to, like, solidify, like, that's kind of what happened, like, "Yes, I wanna see
Yeah.
this," stuff like that.
Mhm.
Whew. The emotions, man. The emotions.
I know. It's a roller coaster.
I was trying to think of like a point that like I didn't like or anything like that, but I can't even like
Mm-mm.
I can't even think of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because even the parts in the 1968 time frame, like when you realize he's sick like immediately and that he's leaving, and he's even saying like, "I don't think I'll ever see like the English countryside again. Like I'm saying goodbye to my country to go to Paris and do this thing, and I have this last letter." And then like it's already like, okay, well it's already sad from the start, like.
Yeah.
And so even those getting some of that like mixed in throughout the other chapters of seeing him kind of meeting with his nurse or whoever's with him in Paris, and then he's meeting his niece, that other or Will's daughter, like meets her and stuff. Like just all those chapters, like I really liked as well. Like
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
even the present day for him.
Yeah, and I think the narrators, like I said, did such a good job, like, differentiate even if you miss the date of, like, when it switches,
Yeah.
chapter I don't remember what chapter I'm on, but you know that voice is in
Hmm.
that time, so it was very, very cool. Okay, Lexi, like, way to make me cry.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't
Like,
even think of that. Mm.
so did you have any, like, inclination of, like, Evie and Tom were gonna be together? Like,
No, because I don't even know if it says. I didn't even read the back. Like, I just
I did.
knew when I bought the physical copy, that's when I realized it was letters and telegrams and, like, her newspaper articles, so I was like, "Oh, it's an epistolary," which I love because 'cause I've read another World War II one that was really good, and it was told just through letters and journals, and so I love that storytelling, and so I didn't even read the back. Like, I just jumped in and was like, "Oh, let's see what happens." Like, I didn't know where it was going, which characters we were following.
So even from the 1968 part, there was no, like, hint that Evie was his wife, right? Like, there was that letter, like, I thought it was a letter that she wrote, the one that got lost, right? Like, in the mail.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought it was at first. But when he opened up that letter and it was signed like Evie, I was like, that means they still like wrote letters to each other throughout their whole lives. Like, I find that
Mhm.
so romantic and
Yeah. Well, like, at the beginning when when he first gets in his, like, carriage or whatever he's in, like, to go to Paris, and, like, has the whole stack of letters, and he's talking about there's this last one that he's supposed to read in Paris. So in the beginning, I was like, "Oh, obviously that person's not there. They wrote him a letter, like, they're not with him." And so in the beginning, I was just like, "Okay, like, maybe this is somebody wrote him a last letter at some point in his life." And then throughout the story, as we learned more, like, then eventually I was like, "Okay, it's obviously gonna come from Evie, but at what point in the relationship is this letter from?" And then when she got the Spanish flu, and I was like, they after 4 years, they're not even gonna be together. Like, I
listen,
was
that
devastated.
that was the moment where things were like, I was not well. Like the tears, I could feel it,
Yeah.
the emotion. Like I could, you just feel it in your
Mhm.
chest sometimes, and
Yes.
you're
Yep.
just getting worked up.
Yeah.
That was the moment, the Spanish flu, and
Yeah.
he's, like, trying to get to her, and, like, the
Ugh.
nurse was like, "Tom, you need to come, she's gonna die," and he gets there, but he can't get in, and he's like, "I said all of these things to her." I was like, "She isn't gonna know." It was
Yeah.
full on dramatics for me, like, I was
Yeah.
so and I was, like, watching this play out like a movie too
Yeah.
in my head, which is so weird because it's a
Right.
picture that you
Same.
didn't
Yeah.
think that it would be
Yeah.
like that. Oh my god, I'm so worked up
Yeah.
about this.
I
I'm
know, because at that point, I thought the letter was gonna be like, obviously, she didn't make it now. They never had a life, so that was the last letter she maybe wrote to him when she was sick. And
yes.
then when we get the next part, and it's like he talks about this whole life they had, and I was like, "Oh my god, now it's the last letter of like after a life together." Like, oh,
Right? I thought the last
oh yeah,
letter yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Like, once I was
hmm,
piecing things together, I was like
yes,
but also I'm like, "Tom, you really thought she really was gonna get engaged to this guy?" Like, Tom I
I
mean, it's a
know,
dude thing to do, and he's not, like,
yeah.
top
Well, and
priority.
he wasn't seeing her like on the daily basis, or like he was only getting glimpses of what she'd tell him, and he knew she had like a working relationship with that guy who he's his cousin, right? Wasn't he his cousin?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, and then obviously he's been through so much, so he's just like probably always gonna assume the worst. He's like,
But
"Of course, I
also
don't get the girl either."
right, part of me was thinking in my head, I'm like, "Wow, not only is this dude at war and having to deal with, like, I don't know what the brigade is called, but, like, a group of men that he's in charge of, right?
Yeah,
He has
yeah,
these letters coming from the newspaper." I'm like, "He doesn't give a fuck about the newspaper right now."
I know.
But I
Yeah.
also was nervous, like, when he came home for that week,
Oh,
that we wouldn't see them together. Sorry, hang on. mute my
Okay, good.
phone. I thought we wouldn't see them together at all, but I liked how when they came home, they like would write. Evie was like, I couldn't wait.
Mhm.
I had to write you a letter. Like I had to tell you how
Yeah.
I felt during that time. And I actually thought that was super clever of the authors to do that. Like one, it shows like how invested she is with him. Even though he had other stuff to
Mhm.
do while he was there, she still wanted to like tell him, like send him a letter,
Yeah.
tell him all the things, how I felt about all that. And it was just like,
Which I feel like is why it worked really well with this, like, being World War One, and not every house is gonna have a telephone at that time, and so,
yeah,
like, yeah, it was an easy way for them to pass notes and communicate, even though they spent, like, every day together, which was, so sweet.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it
That
made me
part I was
think
like, "Oh." Yeah, I was like, "Oh,
COVID.
she's dead, like, she's gone."
I thought about, like, immediately I thought of COVID too, like, ho I just, like, assumed it
Yeah.
was similar
Yes.
situation of
Mhm.
a, like, pandemic. But
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Listen,
true.
when he got to that hospital and he was like, "I need to get in," and he was at the gates, and I was like, "Are they really not
Mhm.
gonna let him in? Like, this dude, he needs to see her." Like,
I know, and even the nurse that, whatever Blythe or something was her name, was it like Mary Blythe or something? Like how
yeah,
she was like, you're gonna have to say your goodbyes, like they're not gonna let you in, it's quarantined, like you'll have to just write it." And I was like, "No, he needs to see her."
but I think there was a there was like a gap in between that time, right, where you didn't know if he actually got to see her, and then like it goes to
Mhm.
the 1968, and then you realize that they actually did have a life together, right? That's how it went.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And that I think made it even worse for me. I'm like, I literally have to wait to the very end of this book, the very end of this letter to figure out like that they had a life. And I think that's also
Yeah.
what like got me too. I was like, they actually like had a life. I didn't have to see what that life was, but they had like a beautiful life and it was amazing.
Yeah, because it was his last letter to her, like, thinking she's in, like, l that he's gonna lose her, and then it cuts to, like, a telegram of the end of the war kind of announcement.
Oh, yes.
And, like, that just happened, and then it cuts to Paris, like, December Eve, 1968 again, and then he starts talking about it, and then I was like, "Oh," like, from there on out, I was crying, like, I was gone.
Oh,
I was,
wow.
"Oh,
Yeah.
that's wild."
Yeah. I mean, like this is literally one of my like top books of the year. Like
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
remember another book. I remember maybe, like, the women making me feel kind of like this when I read it, of how, like, invested I was.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, like, one character, like,
Mm.
I was invested in all 4 of them,
Mhm.
and I just I
Yeah.
love
Which I had to rewind it a bit, like, when it gets to his part and he's talking about their life together, because I was like, "Oh, she died," and then I thought he was saying his relationship, his marriage with Alice, her friend, and I was like,
oh,
hold the phone." Like, I had to rewind it, and I was like, because I was, like, sobbing, so I couldn't hear the name, and then I was like, "Oh, okay," because I thought they would have got together, and I was like, "I don't
oh,
want that to happen." Like,
no.
yeah.
And it said that they had kids, right?
Yeah, they had daughters, and they had the son, or yeah, they have a son, because their son, who they named Will after her brother, writes
Yes.
to the cousin at the end, and he's now the newspaper editor.
Yes, that's what it was. Okay, I
Yeah.
remember something about, like, one of the kids being named after Will,
Mhm. Yeah.
but it was, like, just
When he put on his suit at the end and looked in the mirror and sees flashbacks of his, like, times before, and then the audiobook when they're doing the Silent Night, like, oh, and he lays down, like, oh my god, I was done, like,
like, doesn't he say something like, he's like, "I know that, like, I'm done, like, I'm laying down, I'm going" Are you about to cry? Oh
yes.
my god.
Yeah. Yeah.
It literally
Oh.
was obviously it ends with people dying, like, they all died, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously it's
Mhm.
1968, but, like, watching it come, like, full circle to see, like I think it's also the assumption that they had a beautiful life together too,
Yes.
with
Yeah.
all of that, and I was like, "You know he's dying, like, peacefully." Like, there is
Yeah.
it through everything that we even see in just those 4 years, and then whatever came after, like, you
Mhm.
know that they lived a happy life, and I'm like,
Yeah. And then when their son is writing to, or their niece is writing to their son and saying, like, how I found these letters of your parents, and, like, how after that Spanish flu incident, they were never apart again, like, the rest of their lives, and I was like, like, ugh, So good. Yeah. It was a journey.
Yeah. I was nervous because I listened to this, like I said, in like 2 days. It was like a Saturday, Sunday or something like that. And, I was like, "Ooh, I don't maybe this is me because I, like, listened to it so quickly, like,
Mhm.
just so fast because I was, like, devouring this book." I was like, "I really hope Christy likes it because if she doesn't like this book, I'm gonna be super sad." Did you get the
Yeah.
gist about this book? Yes, it is so cool.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh my god, exactly. When I was telling my husband about it, I was like, it was the Notebook levels of an ending. So it's, like, sweet but bittersweet, like, it's so tragic, but they
So
had a good life.
after I watched or after I, read this book, I saw a TikTok of, like, it was an old couple, and she was saying goodbye. She was like, "Thank you for, like, 71 years of marriage, and, like, I miss you."
No.
And I was like, "I can't
I would swipe out of there.
do it." Oh, I was like,
No.
"I can't." Yeah,
Yeah, just that tragic, like, ugh.
it was very, like I
Mhm.
wouldn't say full circle, but it was just, like, amazing to see, like, they actually had some type of happily ever after.
Yeah.
Even through everything that they've been through. And, like, it was so easy. I for me, I love, like, obviously mental health rep is, like, I love
Mhm.
seeing that, and I loved how, like, it was so real. Like, he was like, "I had to go to a hospital because I forgot what they called it. Is
They
it, like,
called it a few different things. Do they call it, like, war?
war fatigue or something?
Yeah, yeah.
I've
They
never
called it a few different things.
I never heard of that before. Like, I didn't know if that was, like, an
Oh,
actual thing that they had then, but
yeah.
for them to actually send them and take care of them, and he was like, "I'm glad the doctor," like I think he said something with like, "Oh, the doctor recognized something within him," and I'm like,
Mhm.
that I feel like honestly saved his life, like, he could have been
Yeah.
out in war, been distracted, and not paid attention and, like, literally, like, lost his life, but
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. It's basically PTSD, and, like, I was talking to my husband about the book at the beginning, and I was like, "Oh, I'm about to read our, like, book club read, and it's a World War One," and he was like, "Oh, I wonder if they'll get into," and he mentioned that because of they also called it, like, war neuroses of, like, the men after that war and during it, who they'd be at these, like, kind of convalescence homes, and they'd be trying to go through things, and it was just so traumatizing, obviously, that they would like, people would lift up a hat or, like, a German hat or a sign, and they would just, like, lose it and freak out and have these, like, basically panic attacks, you know? And he was like, "I wonder if they'll get into that because that stuff really messed with, like, soldiers'
yeah.
minds, at the time." Yeah. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of, like, British history around that time because it's like obviously that was they called it the Great War. It was World War One. It was a huge event, and so I'm wondering if like a lot of the people during that time they were kind of in like a little not naive bubble, but like they were maybe safe in life, and like that was the first thing that they really like went through stuff. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like
I was trying to think of anything in, like, the late 1800s, early 19 other
yeah, yeah, because like in their lifetime of what they would have experienced,
there's not
because they're obviously naive, thinking like it's going to be over in a couple weeks. You know?
exactly. Well, I mean, that's also what they
Yeah.
were told. They were like, "Hey, this will be over in X amount of time."
Yeah.
I feel like World War II, they were better prepared for, like, German soldiers because they had
Hmm.
previously dealt with them, and I thought it was so weird, and I did maybe this is something that happened in World War One, but they had, like on Christmas Day, I don't know if it was the first Christmas that they're there, the second, they actually, like, celebrated Christmas with with the German soldiers, like, they put their differences aside, and I was like, I do know there's historically a lot of big
Yes.
differences between World War One and World War II and how they handle things, like
Mhm.
how the Germans handle things. I feel like World War One, I don't know if they were considered what they would call Nazis, rather like what we call Nazis in World War II. But I thought
Right.
that was super interesting that they put that in there because I didn't even know that they did that. Like I was shocked. I was like, just like he was in the letter, he was like, I cannot believe like our enemy
Yeah,
will
he's like, "I smell them cooking breakfast and singing their Christmas carols over there."
yeah, like we basically broke bread with them for Christmas, but then we go back to fighting
Yeah,
tomorrow. Like it was
yeah,
bizarre. I feel like for a lot of people, like men too, it was like a mind fuck being there. Yeah, I really think they handled it really well.
same. Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
Mhm,
exactly. Sorry.
mhm.
There wasn't
Yeah. I think she meant, like, nothing else had happened to them in their
no,
lifetime, like, of that level. Yeah. Mhm.
exactly like introduction to guns because I feel like and
When he was talking about the gas masks too, like, that they were using that
yeah,
type of warfare.
yeah, it was bizarre. I don't know. I find it that part very bizarre.
Yeah.
Mm,
Mhm.
okay.
My husband and I, we always, like we watch a lot of war stuff and we talk about, like, history a lot, and so we always have this, like, running thing because, like, similar to that, he always is like, "That's boys being boys," like, because 'cause I'm like, "They stopped fighting," like, I would be over there attacking in the night, like, doing some, subterfuge. He's like, "No, boys respect the game," like, they would stop and do or, like, they'd set up battle lines, and then all shoot at the and I'm like, "No, I would be, like, in the back, sneaking in, like" you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
he's like, "That's
I
just
also
boys being boys. They respect the war game," you know?
yeah, but I feel like in World War II, that's not really talked about like that. Like the Germans played like a very different game in World War II than they did in World
Oh,
War.
for sure.
Like I feel like
Yeah.
World War One was like typical battle, like let's line up. All right, ready, aim, go. Like
Yes.
more of
Yes.
a oh my gosh, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Honorable war,
Yes, exactly, yeah.
similar
Which
to
is, like,
that.
what they did in more, like, medieval times and even
Yeah,
into, like, what's the word? Like, the Napoleonic Wars, just him setting up all of his lines and, like, those kind of war tactics, yeah, the sense of honor, yeah.
yes, exactly. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But then I feel like yeah, I feel like in World War II, it was like surprise after surprise after surprise. Like the Germans, like obviously knew that they wanted to take over, so they had like a more strategic plan. And I feel like it was
Yeah.
like over obviously the last like 100 plus years, war has become very.
Right.
Then you look at the next one of the next biggest wars is Vietnam War. Like that was
Mhm.
complete.
Totally different, yeah.
Yeah, even World War
Mhm.
II with like the kamikazes, like that was just like a totally different type of warfare that has like its own PTSD like from those soldiers. But
Yeah.
I think that comes from more of like a traumatic, like true traumatic, like things that happened rather than like being shell shocked of like a whole new world type thing of World War One.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, that too. Of course, yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes, we did. At the end, we did. Yes.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I also me and Brandon we watch a lot of documentaries and stuff, but I feel like there's not a lot of World War One ones. There's a ton of World War Two and like Cold
Mhm.
War and stuff like that. How it goes back to like World War Two,
Right.
but I haven't watched a lot about World War One. So I learned a lot about that time. I feel like it was like a
Mhm.
more simplistic warfare, if that makes sense, compared to like World War
Right.
Two, Vietnam, stuff like that. As like time went on, so it was very
Yeah.
interesting, like historically learning some of that stuff too.
Mhm.
Which is why I love to read historical fiction because you, like, blend all the things together in this story that makes you
Exactly.
sob.
Yeah. The storytelling and the things you learn.
My gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Obviously, each war had its own, like, different reasons, but it's, like, progressively got, like, more and more
Yeah.
deadly, if that makes sense. I don't know how it's possible when you're killing people,
Yeah. Right.
but
Yeah.
whew, that was a lot of emotions in 30 minutes. I got really tired. Sorry. I
Yeah.
was so excited to gush about this book. I'm like, I really hope a lot of people love it. Like, am I gonna be the
Yeah,
only
I'm glad everybody did.
one? Picked a good one, another
Mhm.
good one.
Oh, that's true too, that Lexi just said about, like, that we don't hear more stories about it because the US didn't join till later. And so, like, the
Oh,
stories we're hearing over here, in the States, but, like, that's what I thought was interesting in this book too, how they talk about that they were wanting the US to join, like, they talk about it a year or 2, I think, before the US even did join, like, they were like, "We're trying to get them to help, like, they're our allies," like, that was a conversation because I was like, "Do we even help in World War One?" Like, we came in maybe at the very end again, I feel like, you know?
yeah, I'm also trying to think about in World War One, like what was it that pushed the US to join? Obviously, World War Two was Pearl Harbor, but
Yeah, I wanna say something got blown up, like, I think they were attacking, like, ships in the Atlantic, I wanna say? Maybe?
oh, yeah. Okay,
Oh, okay.
like a Monica coming in. That is very true, Shelby.
Mhm, mhm,
Okay, that's what it was.
mm,
Yeah. It was just I think overall this was a really amazing read. It was like
mhm,
the perfect I mean, it wasn't like super holiday-y, but the
mm-mm.
ending, like the title totally makes sense now. And now I'm like, sobs
Yeah,
every time I see it.
yeah. Well, just like all of their Christmases in Paris, like how they like got engaged there, and all their moments that they went there over the years, and like they went the year before they both passed away. You know, it was just like so special, that place to them.
But also, I think in the
So
beginning
sweet.
they talked about how they wanted to go to Paris for Christmas that year, but then they
Yes.
joined the war, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we'll be home by then. We can go.
Yeah.
Joke's on you."
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh man, it
I
was good.
know. Mhm.
Oh, you know what I wanted to do since it's our last one of 2024? I wanted to look at
Mhm.
all of our books that we picked and like because we
Oh,
started
yeah.
in July, right? Was July our first?
Yeah, so we've so we've had 6. We did half the year.
Okay, so Lady Tan's Circle of Women was both like no go. It
Mhm.
wasn't the best.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the Briar Club we both actually enjoyed. Like
Mhm.
it wasn't I don't think it was 5-star for both of us, but it was good.
Mhm.
Oh, the Spell Shop. It was okay.
Oh,
That
yeah.
for me it was okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we have the Porcelain Maker. That was also a good one. The Lies
Mhm.
We Leave Behind, and then Last Christmas in Paris. We had some really good books.
I know, I agree.
That makes me
And it's
super.
a lot of, like, new to us authors, I feel like, for the most part, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. On both sides, I think too. Like,
Yeah, different ones, I think, for both of us.
oh shit. Okay, sorry, I just got a message for work.
Oh.
Um, do you have a physical copy of our January book?
I do.
Woohoo!
Yep.
Husbands and
We're
Lovers. I ordered my
Yeah.
copy. It should be coming soon-ish.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So for January, we're gonna read Husbands and Lovers by Beatrice Williams, which I've heard about this author so many times and have been wanting to read her book. So this is her newest release that just came out this past summer. And I know it was on like, which doesn't matter, but Goodreads like choice awards things, you know, it was on those like bigger lists and stuff.
What time period is it?
That's what I was trying to see here. Oh, 1950s in Egypt. And then present day. So it says 2 women separated by decades and continents, but united by an exotic family heirloom, reclaim secrets and lost love in this stunning novel from bestselling author, yada yada.
That cover is not what I think of when I hear that blurb. Like, I saw that cover and I thought, "Oh, that's just like a contemporary romance or like a contemporary like women's fiction book," not knowing
Mm-hmm.
that it would be more of a historical fiction. So,
Yeah. Interesting.
I wanted to see what the average ratings were because I feel like her stuff always does.
Oh, it says this is her 19th book, and 4 of her books are collabs with Karen White and Lauren Willig, which I feel like are other huge like historical fiction authors.
I've never read them.
That's
Oh, so it
interesting.
has almost 42,000 ratings on Goodreads, and it has a
Mm,
4.14 rating.
okay. Pretty high.
Yeah. I'm very
Yeah,
excited.
has anybody in the chat, like, read her books before? I'm
Yeah, I'm
curious.
very interested. Oh, sorry, Monica, I missed this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I knew about the Lucy.
Mm,
They mentioned
yes.
that in
Mhm.
this one, I think.
Yeah.
Was it that? Oh, I didn't even check. Let me see.
I wonder if it's on Hoopla at all too, because I feel like she's a pretty big author.
Yeah, so I'm gonna check really quick. What's her name? Beatrice Williams?
Yeah, with a Z at the end.
There we go. Um, they don't have that book on my Hoopla. They have every other book by her. All the Ways We Said Goodbye. Oh, that's the one where she was. Ooh, interesting. Okay, I'll favorite that one. That was one of.
Yeah, there's a couple of her others I wanna read as well, if I like her writing in this. Oh, it's not on Hoopla, okay. It is on Libby, for sure.
Oh my one of my libraries has a 5-week hold. That's not too bad. Place that now so I don't forget.
Yeah. Mine's 2
Yes.
weeks.
I feel like she's been on my TBR for a while, but I never read them.
Mhm. Oh, hi, Lizelle.
Hi. Oh. Oh. It's not on Hoopla.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
it's on
on Spotify.
I know a lot
Interesting.
of people do have Spotify, so I don't have Spotify, but
Same.
so yeah, I'm very excited. I think I got the paperback. Maybe I got the hardback and the paperback were only $1 difference on Amazon. I don't know why, but
Interesting. It is on Audible, but you'd have to use like a credit. So I guess depending on how desperate or you want to get to it on audio, there's always
yeah.
that option too as a
Oh,
backup.
about the hardcover, I had to look.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm very excited about that one. I think we decided our January 23rd.
Yes.
Yes, January 23rd on
Yeah.
Kristen's channel. But we'll
Mm-hmm.
post over on Instagram. I
Mm-hmm.
love this book club. I'm so glad we started it.
Me too.
It took me long enough to be like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm glad we did. Because
Yeah.
it's like even helped me read other like historical fiction just in general throughout the month, like that were on my TBR for the longest time. Because I'm like, oh, I'm already in that mood. Let's just continue it on.
Yeah, I watched your Chanel Cleaton video and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
look
I
at
know.
Cassie. She loves her.
I
I didn't
loved
even
all of
know that
those.
she had was it the contemporary ones you mentioned? Contemporary romances that she has?
Yeah, supposedly she was contemporary beforehand.
I had no idea when you mentioned that. I was like, oh, I always thought she
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
historical fiction only author. It
Same.
was a great book to end the year.
Mm-hmm. Yay.
Yes. I've had to expand I used to keep my historical fiction shelf to just like 2. So now I've had to go over to my square bookcases rather than the long ones. So I'm like, I'm gonna fill them up.
Mm-hmm.
Excited.
That's what mine used to be like over here, and now it's like right here behind me too. Like it's come in here now too. It used to be like off camera.
Yeah. I have a ton. I want to try and read through my physical ones before I buy some more. But
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see about that. We'll see what I get for Christmas and stuff because I really
Yeah.
also on
Yeah.
Pango. Pango has a lot of good like quality like used historical fiction.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So I was very surprised by how many they had. So like Jennifer Saint, I always see Hera, which that's more like
Oh yeah.
retellings, like reimagining.
Mm-hmm.
Hera was at Barnes and Noble when I went last weekend, and I was like, do I spend $28 on the hardback or do I just get it from Pango? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So
That's what a lot of my like used bookstores have a ton of, because I feel like historical fiction is way more like a lot more non-readers, like our level of readers pick it up, like and turn in the books and stuff at used bookstores, so they're easier to like get a hold of, I feel like.
yeah. What was your to end the live show? What was your favorite historical fiction author and or book that you've read this year that you've like discovered?
From our picks?
Or like the whatever you've read, all of them.
Probably Chanel Cleaton. I mean, I then went on a binge of all of hers because I picked up the one during our historical fiction readathon. So definitely her. And I'm trying to think who else. And I really loved like I want to read more from these two authors now, or like from them individually. Like I really loved this book.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what I can think of at least.
Did your mom read the Chanel Clean ones?
She has them. She hasn't read it yet.
Oh,
She
okay.
read the Porcelain Maker though. She wanted to read that one first because when we lived in Germany, we went to Dachau, like the concentration camp. So she was like, "Oh, I want to read that one immediately." So her and my dad both read it and loved it.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, they always borrow my books and then read them, and they'll tell me about them later.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah. So I gave her the one Chanel Cleaton. I was like, "Okay, start with the Next Year in Havana, and then if you like it, I'll give you the rest. But like, start with this one."
That's so cute. I don't know what my
Yeah.
favorite. I think I read my first Kristen Hanna this year, so The Women obviously is like one of my top books. Yeah, like duh.
Yeah.
I filmed like a TikTok of my top 5 historical fiction. It was The Women, The Last Christmas in Paris, The Girls of Flight City by Lorraine Heath,
Mm-hmm.
Angels of the Resistance, and Oh, what was my last one? Oh, The Things We Cannot. Oh my gosh, it's the Kelly Brimmer book that I read.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know which one, yeah.
The Things something, but it's not
Yeah.
like
We
all
Left
like
Unsaid or something?
yeah, All the Things We Cannot Say. Is it that
Yeah,
one?
maybe that's it, yeah. Something about saying something.
So, yeah, they have
Ooh.
a lot of books. They have, like, a Grace Kelly one, which I think is the Meet Me in Monaco, where she's, like, a perfumer. She, like, creates perfume and she has her own thing, and, like, Grace Kelly just, like,
Mm.
stumbles upon her shop, and it's, like,
Oh, cool.
Grace Kelly from her perspective. It was very interesting. I
Oh,
gave that one
cool.
4 stars when I read that one.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I really wanna read The Lion Women of Turin.
Me too. Interesting, okay.
Has
The
lo
Women, yeah, The Women is on my top, like, whatever I'm doing, 10 or 20 of the year, it's on my top for the year too. I just forgot about it because it's so early in the year.
Oh, I don't remember which one you read. You read one, it was at the end of November that you said it was a historical fiction.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's 2 others that I loved this year. So there's Take My Hand by,
That was
is
the
it
one.
Dolan Perkins Valdez or something? And that is like 1968 Alabama. And oh my God, that book hit so hard, especially with like current day situations with like women's health and rights and things like that. So good. That's one of my favorites of the year. And then also, oh, Homegoing by Ya Jesse. Like that one was the one that spans like 300 years of this family and starts off like in Ghana, Africa, and like goes all the way to current day, like Harlem. Those both were so good too.
See, I do wanna branch out more so for next year too with my, like, historical fiction journey is reading outside of, like I love World War One, World War Two stuff, obviously,
Yes.
but I want to, like, branch out more, like, I've read the Chanel Cletons, and I've read, oh my gosh, like, more of, like, the Jennifer Saints where it's, like, Greek myth kind of
Yeah.
historical, but I
Yeah.
definitely wanna branch out and do more, so that's why I was like, I remember those that you said you really liked,
Yes.
and those are
Yeah.
on my, like,
Hmm.
list of things I wanna read, but
Yeah.
so
Same. I like doing because like World War II, I feel like it's just oversaturated, like the amount of books and movies and stuff I've seen over the years. So I like doing the different time periods as well. Which I was seeing this the other day because I was compiling a list of like historical fiction releases for next year. And the fact that which I'm like, the 80s is now historical fiction. Like they're classifying
I
like Taylor Jenkins Reid a new book as 19, it's like 1980s. And I'm like, that's historical fiction. Like I was literally born in the late 80s. Like, come on.
I mean, I was born in '94, so not there yet, but, like,
Yeah.
my parents talk about the '80s like it was yesterday, so
I know. I'm just like,
yeah.
I guess it has been quite a many years, but it doesn't feel like when I think historical fiction, I'm like, oh, 50s and beyond, or like past, you know what I mean? But I'm like, I guess that's how our parents and grandparents probably felt too, like as times came around. Yeah. Yeah. I was offended. I was like, what?
But I feel like we
Yeah.
both can say I feel like I've rediscovered my love for historical fiction this year.
Yes.
I'm very
Yes.
happy that we have this book club because even if I don't read any other one in the month, but I will have
Yeah.
one at least. So, yeah,
Same.
it's been
Yeah.
such a good time. This was such a
I
good live show,
know.
such a good book.
And I'm so glad everybody's like joined us as well and has come and chatted or even chatted when they didn't finish it or read it. Like we love it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. So, yeah, thank you guys
Hmm.
for joining. Thank you guys for an amazing 6 months of this. Oh,
Yep.
but thank you for an amazing 6 months and 6 amazing books. And yeah, I can't wait to share
Yeah.
more with you guys next year. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you, thank
Mhm.
you, thank you. And we'll see you in 2025.
Oh my god, I know.
Oh my gosh, so
Bye.
bye.